Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. So as you guys know, I don't typically do TBRs too much anymore. I've been sticking to mood reading mostly, and I've been really enjoying that. But for the month of February, I wanted to take part in the Gothic Hearts reading challenge, and I wanted to read more Gothic books anyway, more classics, more dark and spooky and castles and women in flowing nightgowns holding onto candelabras and the whole thing. So I thought this was absolutely perfect for me to work into my year. And of course, February, you know, revolving around Valentine's Day, and it is actually yesterday on February 3rd was mine and Matthew's 11-year anniversary of being together. So I thought this was absolutely perfect. So if you don't know what the Gothic Hearts Reading Challenge is, this is a reading challenge that's being hosted by 4 of my friends. So Regina from Regina's Haunted Library, E.D. Lewis from E.D. Lewis Reviews, D.L. Tillery, the Mistress of Horror, and Aphrodite Lee. And all 4 of these people are fantastic booktubers and also fantastic authors. So I'll have all of their stuff linked down below in the description box, and if you guys aren't already following them, which I'm sure you probably are, make sure to head over to their pages and give them a follow. So the only thing is that right now I am on a complete book buying ban. So that includes ebooks, audiobooks, everything. So I had to kind of fudge this a little bit to have books that would fit into the prompts, but also books that I have on my shelves. So I did take a couple of liberties here, I won't lie, but I think I did pretty good with fitting most of these in. So I'm going to go through the prompts, and I'm going to point out the book that I'm going to be reading for this month that fits the prompt, but also make sure to go check out the hosts' videos because they have a lot of suggestions that you guys can read as well. So I've got my list here, so let's get right into it. Prompt number 1 is read a classic Gothic romance novel or short story written before 1950, which I think is going to be pretty easy to do. And I believe it was Regina mentioned the book Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, and this is a very well-known classic, a classic that I haven't read yet. So I actually have the audiobook right now on my phone, so I thought this was perfect to fit into this prompt, and I've been wanting to read that book anyway, so it kind of pushes me a little bit to get this one read. So in this story, we're following a new husband and wife who are going to live in his mansion called Manderley, but their marriage and the mansion and kind of their whole being is being haunted by the ghost of the man's previous wife, Rebecca. So I thought this was really interesting because the main character is someone who's not even alive. Not even really a character. So I thought that was a really interesting take, and I know that this is going to be just wonderfully Gothic and atmospheric, and I've been really enjoying reading classic Gothic books on audio, so I'm definitely very excited to get to this one this month. And up next, prompt number 2, read a trade paperback Gothic romance novel or short story, which typically has a woman running away from a castle on the front cover. So this one is not a trade paperback, but it has a picture of a woman near a castle or a mansion on the front cover, and this is The Witch of Willow Hall by Hester Fox. And this is an audiobook that I'm actually currently reading right now. I had started it in January, but I only sat through like the first hour, and then I moved on to something else. So I thought this was perfect to fit back into my February TBR and get this one read. And I have to say, this is really good. I'm really enjoying the audiobook of this one. This is my first Hester Fox book, but I'm loving the writing, and the narrator is fantastic, and the story is really compelling. So here we follow a family. They have a mother, father, and 3 daughters. So 2 of the daughters are older, kind of in their late teens, early 20s, and the younger daughter, I believe, is about 8 years old. And something happens to the family. There's a scandal. So they live in Boston. They're a very prominent business family, and they end up having to move permanently to kind of like the outskirts into a summer home that their father had bought. So he bought the place basically that they would only use as a summer home, but because of the scandal, they have to move there, you know, year round. And the house is haunted. It's a big spooky mansion and things start happening within the family, and then of course we learn what's going on with the scandal. And then on top of that, the two sisters are vying for the attentions of some of their father's colleagues, and there's a little bit of sibling rivalry going on there. But I have to say, like, the characters are written really, really well. The story is compelling. I love the atmosphere, and the narrator here is really good, which I think really makes an audiobook. So really enjoying this one. Like I said, kind of had to fudge it a little bit to get it into the prompt, but I think I did okay with that one. And so far, I would highly recommend you guys picking this one up. And then for prompt number 3, it's read a newer Gothic romance. So something that was published from the year 2000 or after. And speaking of Hester Fox, and this was totally accidental, I bought this book at a secondhand bookstore just before the holidays, and it fits perfectly. So this is The Widow of Pale Harbor, also by Hester Fox. And this one also could kind of fit into prompt number 2 as well. We have this young lady in a red cape here, looking, I don't know if she's running away from it, but she's looking up at a spooky mansion. And on the back here it says, a town gripped by fear, a woman accused of witchcraft, who can save Pale Harbor from itself? So like I said, this was totally accidental. I had completely forgotten that I actually had Hester Fox on my Audible subscription. So really excited about this one. The cover looks beautiful. So this takes place in Maine in 1846, and we follow a man named Gabriel Stone who lives in Massachusetts. And after the death of his wife, he decides to move to the small remote village of Pale Harbor and to just kind of get away from his life, get away from his grief, and start fresh. But he starts to realize after he moves in that the little town is one of these with lots of secrets and lots of kind of eerie happenings and all of that sort of thing. And there is a local townswoman, her name is Sophronia Carver, who is a reclusive widow, and it's just her and her spinster housekeeper that are living together, and she almost certainly killed her husband. So that's thrown in there. I'm not sure if there's a romance aspect in here, but knowing Hester Fox with the other book, there probably is going to be some sort of an element there. So like I said, there's weird things that are going on in the community, and it says on the bottom here, as the incidents escalate, one thing becomes clear. They are the work of a twisted person inspired by the wildly popular stories of Mr. Edgar Allan Poe, and Gabriel must find answers or Pale Harbor will suffer a fate worse than Poe's darkest tales. So that sounds fantastic. Like I said, I don't know how much romance is worked into here, but I'm assuming there's probably going to be something going on with this Sophronia Carver and our main character. But this sounds fantastic. Like I said, you've got the wonderful cover art here with the young woman in front of this spooky, spooky mansion. So personally, I thought this fit in perfectly with this reading challenge. And for prompt number 4, we have read a queer main character, LGBTQ+, Gothic romance, or short story. And for this, one that I had on my shelf was The Picture of Dorian Gray, another classic Gothic book that I haven't read yet. And just the description on the back of this book is so haunting and so fantastic. I have started this one and it's wonderful. So it has this beautiful cover art as well. And then on the back it says, The Picture of Dorian Gray enraged Victorian audiences and mirrored its author in scandal. Seen as vulgar and unclean by its original audience, the tale of young charismatic Dorian Gray and his cursed portrait challenged readers in 1890s London. Wilde said famously that Dorian Gray contains much of me. Basil Hallward is what I think I am. Lord Henry, what the world thinks of me, and Dorian, what I would like to be in other ages perhaps. So this is a little bit of a hidden story and something that, you know, the subject matter is sort of danced around, but it's in there, and I thought this was perfect. I thought it was really, really good, and I've only read the first couple of chapters of this one, but it is very haunting, it's very well written, and I'm loving it. And the last book prompt that we have is read a BIPOC main character Gothic romance or short story. So this one I struggled a little bit with just because I don't have a whole lot of romance on my shelves, and but I did have this book. So this one I took a lot of liberty with, The Ballad of Black Tom by Victor Laval, but I thought it still kind of fit in with this sort of occult, very mysterious sort of Gothic storytelling. Hoping it does anyway, but this was the one that popped into my head. It's very short and it's something I've been wanting to pick up for a while, so I'm cheating a little bit here, but this is the one that I went with. And it says here that this is a fantasy horror novella revisiting H.P. Lovecraft's story The Horror at Red Hook from the viewpoint of a black man. So that sounds fantastic, and this has a lot of kind of mystery, sort of occult elements wound in here. So like I said, taking a little bit of liberty here, but I had to try to find something that I already owned, because so many times I've taken part in these reading challenges and I actually go out and buy books to fit the prompts, so I had to kind of do it a little bit backwards. So this is the one I went with. So here we follow Charles Thomas Tester, who has to hustle to put food on the table and to keep a roof over his father's head. And he knows the power and the magic that a proper suit can cast. And it says here that he has a curse written on his skin that attracts the eyes of wealthy white folks and their cops. But when he delivers an occult book to a reclusive sorceress in the heart of Queens, Tom opens a door to a deeper realm of magic and earns the attention of things best left sleeping. So like I said, I had to fudge it a little bit to get this one in here, but this is what I'm going with because I actually had it on my shelf. So really excited to pick this one up finally. It's been a couple of years that I've been, you know, continually looking at this one on my shelf and just haven't picked it up. And from what I've heard, it's a really, really good one. And for the movie prompt, so we have a movie prompt here, which I'm really super glad that we do. Watch a Gothic romance movie. So one of my favorite movies of all time is Wuthering Heights from 1939 with Laurence Olivier, and it's my favorite interpretation of the story. And when it comes to old black and white movies with the women and their beautiful gowns and the whole thing, I just get sucked into that whole world. I used to own it on DVD, and I don't know what happened to it. I lost it, or it, you know, got misplaced in a move. So I have to try to find it. I'm hoping they have it either on YouTube or iTunes or something like that. So I'll be planning on watching that one. And another really good one also is Jane Eyre, which I just finished watching a couple of months ago, so I'm not going to be rewatching it. But my favorite interpretation of that one is the one with Ciarán Hinds. I think it came out in about 2002. So that one's really, really good. And I remember, because I hadn't read the book and I didn't really know a whole lot about the story, but when I first saw that one, I was totally intrigued by what was going on in that story. So that's another good one. And I think I'm probably going to just watch some other period romances during this time. I've watched Pride and Prejudice recently. I'm going to watch Sense and Sensibility, not within the Gothic genre, but still, you know, wonderful period romances. And of course, a good one is Crimson Peak. I watched that one a couple of months ago. That's a really, really good one. So anything kind of that sort of way, Crimson Peak, Wuthering Heights, Jane Eyre, those are really, really good options to go with, both for the movies but also for the books as well. If you wanted to pick something Gothic that was written before the 1950s, those are also really, really good options. So there you guys go. That is everything that I'm planning on reading for the Gothic Hearts Reading Challenge. Make sure you go watch everybody else's videos as well. And of course, let me know down in the comments if you guys are going to be taking part. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to give me a thumbs up. Leave me a question or comment down below because you know I love chatting with you guys. But until next time, stay spooky everybody. Bye.